What have you borrowed? What would you like back? You can get in touch with us usual ways.
Call BBC Surrey
0800 587 1046.
7 minutes past 7 o'clock. 23 years ago, Ruth Wilson vanished from Dorking. She left for school in the morning, but never arrived. She was last spotted that evening on Box Hill, then disappeared.
What happened to her is a mystery, and one that has puzzled Surrey police for decades. Ruth is still missing, and a new documentary has been released about the case and the many questions it throws up. It's called Vanished, the Surrey Schoolgirl, and is on the Real Stories channel on YouTube. We'll hear from its makers in a moment, but first let's hear a bit from the documentary.
Nobody can naturally just vanish.
During the summer, I sometimes come out for a walk and maybe take the dog with me. We normally come along here, and as you can see in front of us, that's Box Hill. That was the last place that she was seen. I don't think she planned to disappear at all, and I think something terrible has happened to her, and she's more than likely still up there. Somebody knows where she is.
One of the important roles of a journalist is asking questions on behalf of the public that are uncomfortable to ask. Every now and again there's a story that just niggles away at you. You can't quite forget. The disappearance of Ruth Wilson is one of those stories. In 2002 I wrote an article about missing people. The case of Ruth Wilson really affected me. It was so unusual, such a peculiar and mysterious case of a 16-year-old who went missing in the Surrey Hills in 1995. There were multiple appeals for Ruth to come home, and it was her family's belief that she was out there somewhere. The official version suggests this is a missing persons case. This is unresolved. There is no evidence of any crime, and that is absolutely correct. I still, all these years later, am haunted by the belief that that wasn't the whole story.
Well, that's retired police officer Liam Macaulay and journalist Martin Bright. We're joined now by Martin and the programme's producer, Adam Gee. Now, if I start with you, Martin, what was it that initially drew you to the case in the first place?
Well, initially, I was covering the case of Millie Dowler, another Surrey schoolgirl, who went missing and was tragically murdered in 2002. And I was looking at some of the other cases that didn't get the same amount of publicity as the Millie Dowler case. And this was just one of them. So it was a case of going to interview the family, asking why they thought that it didn't get so much publicity, and then comparing it to other cases. The point was, though, of all the stories I've covered over the years as a Home Affairs correspondent or as a political journalist, this is one that just kind of stuck with me. There was something so odd and so mysterious about an apparently ordinary middle-class girl doing relatively well at school, good musician, lots of friends, suddenly just vanishing off the face of the earth. It was just so peculiar.
And was that the thing that stuck with you then, just the fact that it didn't make sense to you?
Yes, over the years, it was something that every now and again, you just kind of think about it. It just niggled away at me, which is why when Liam Macaulay, the retired Scotland Yard detective, contacted me and said, "Do you remember the Ruth Wilson case?" I said to him, "Of course I remember it. It's a very, very odd case."
And did you write about it extensively at the time?
No, it was just one story in a long article about 4 or 5 other missing persons cases, but it just stuck in my mind because of the circumstances. There's something just so sad about a winter evening, a young girl with just the clothes she's wearing ending up on top of Box Hill in the dark, and then just nothing.
Let's bring Adam in here. Adam, do you think she'll ever reappear after everything you've seen?
I think it's still all really up in the air. there are various possibilities that remain on the table, but the main thing is that there's a real sense that the investigation has further to go. There are more witnesses to come forward, and there's more facts to come out. And I think if this documentary serves as a catalyst for that, then it will have done a good thing. And already we've been approached by various people from Ruth's circle and that have a useful testimony, and they've come forward, and we're just about to go later on this morning to Surrey Police to share all the new things that have come out in the wake of the documentary being released 2 weeks ago.
Can you give us an example of something that you found out?
I'll explain that. I mean, we have to be slightly careful about what we say, because it's important for us to share the new information with the police first. Also, in terms of new evidence, we need to know what the police know already before we know whether what we have is new evidence. So we have had a number of witnesses come forward. These are people from within the community, people who know Ruth, but also people who, from within Surrey Police, are involved in the original investigation. And these are important new testimonies.
The family chose not to be involved, sent you a statement that says, we made the decision we did not want to be involved in the Below the Radar documentary because we had doubts about the motives of the people involved. Their approach seemed to be based on a conspiracy theory which bordered on sensationalism. So let's go to the producer, Adam, to answer that.
It's quite a sort of defensive right to reply statement that we shared with you. It was done in the wake of us presenting various new evidence, and one of the main things that came out, which obviously is difficult for the family, was a complete contradiction of the notion that Ruth was running away from a happy household. And we didn't want to put that into the film without, obviously, without giving them their right to reply and hearing their perspective on that. But it's from various witnesses that we get a very different sort of picture. And I think that's one of the things that was highly problematic for Martin. He can talk for himself in a minute. But he was really involved in projecting a particular sort of picture of the circumstances that's proved clearly not to have been the case.
And so you've actually spoken to more people since the documentary aired, have you?
We have spoken to more people since the documentary aired. And look, I'm sensitive to the fact that this is a terrible thing to happen to a family, and they have every right to react to this in whatever way they see fit. People don't have to be the subject of lots of media attention if they don't want to be. They don't have to take part in our documentary. But the point is that we now have a consistent picture from many friends and members of the community of a very, very unhappy girl. Let's concentrate on Ruth Wilson. Let's just say that her friends have come forward desperate to find out what happened to her, desperate to appeal for more witnesses, and they know that she was deeply unhappy, and that's what drove her to leave that day. So it's an uncomfortable truth, but it has not been contradicted by anyone that she was so unhappy.
When you go to the police, you're seeing Surrey Police later on, as you mentioned. What are you hoping to happen from that meeting?
I'd like to see some transparency from Surrey Police. I think that they owe it to the people of Dorking, the people of Surrey, to open up about this investigation. They need to tell people whether the original investigation was carried out properly. It's a long time ago. Things were done differently then. I think we need to be generous about that. And to be fair to Surrey Police, they have now said that they want to speak to us. They have said that they are prepared to discuss with us the nature of this inquiry. And so we have to go into this meeting with an open mind ourselves.
Well, thank you. We did ask Surrey Police for a comment on the investigation, but they didn't respond.
Gentlemen, thank you for coming in. If people want to actually see it, it is available. You can just go onto YouTube and watch it then, can you?
That's
it's
right.
available for free. It's on the Real Stories channel. That's REAL. It's called Vanished, and you'll be joining the best part of 250,000 other people that have watched it in the last few days.
Good talking to you. Thank you. Journalist Martin Bright and the programme's producer Adam G. It's 17 minutes past 7 o'clock.
And it is our top story this morning. Documentary makers are meeting with Surrey Police today to hand over what they say is new evidence about the mystery of a schoolgirl's disappearance. And the head of MI5, speaking in Berlin today, is to say that cooperation between the security service and other European intelligence agencies has never been more important. And in sport, Woking are set to confirm their new manager in the next 24 hours. The four-man